All right, Axios is reporting that the president told advisors he's planning to speak directly with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. This comes after the U.S. designated a cartel tied to Maduro as a foreign terrorist organization. The White House is ramping up pressure on Venezuela to stop drug trafficking. The U.S. military has killed at least 83 people in 21 missile strikes on suspected drug-carrying boats. So let's bring in CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata, who's joining me now live from Puerto Rico. So, Charlie, explain the designation of this group, the Cartel de los Soles, and what is the president, Nicolas Maduro's, involvement in it?
Vlad, it's a great question, and I'm going to try to explain it. First of all, the designation means options, and that's the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that is providing options to President Trump, after all, the commander-in-chief. But we have to keep in mind that this is the Secretary of Defense who's saying that, which means military and non-military options. Now, as far as the cartel itself, it's no surprise that Nicolas Maduro says this cartel does not exist. In fact, there are people in Colombia, leadership in Colombia, that says the cartel doesn't exist. In a way, it doesn't exist per se as a cartel. And the Cartel de los Soles is a reference to the sun on the epaulets of military leadership. So the way it's being framed by U.S. prosecutors is this is military and government leadership that has a say, and they're getting kickbacks from the cartels. So they're not sort of drug-dealing organizations like a traditional cartel, if you will, but it's the military involvement, turning a blind eye, getting kickbacks, and because Nicolas Maduro is in charge of the military and in charge of the government, that makes him in charge of the cartel, if that helps explain things.
Yeah, it does. And as you know, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs will visit Trinidad and Tobago today after stopping over in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. What are we learning about what's supposed to happen at that meeting?
Yes, so there's an organization called the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative, and that is an alliance, as it were, between the United States and Trinidad and Tobago. So the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was here in Puerto Rico. We spoke about it yesterday, and he met with U.S. forces here, of which there are thousands of U.S. forces here. Now he's going to meet with the prime minister there. And what's critical about that is Trinidad and Tobago, unlike here, it's literally 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. So the U.S. arrangement there have been military drills that have been operating just last week. The U.S. Marines were operating with the Iwo Jima, which is an amphibious ship, and that was just off the coast. And that is where you really are talking about getting close to Venezuela. All of this is being done in international waters, but Trinidad and Tobago is an alliance or an ally of the United States, and that is why it is critical. It came as a surprise to us, by the way. That was announced last night. We thought the chairman would come here to Puerto Rico. He went out onto a ship to meet with troops. Then we thought he'd be going out. So that was kind of added to it. But that is why it's critical, and that's why it's a critical partnership to the United States.
Excellent point. Charlie D'Agata, excellent reporting, my friend. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.